Hello and welcome to the Junosphere webcast. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. If you have a question at any time during the presentation, please type it into the Q&A box on your screen. Be sure to stay for the entire webcast to be eligible for the Junosphere Lab Time drawing. Our speakers today are Brendan Hayes and Pilar Somohano. Now that we're ready to start, I'll turn it over to Brendan Hayes.
Thanks, Carrie. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. As Carrie mentioned, I'm here with Pilar Somohano, who's head of the Junosphere business unit. Myself, I'm in charge of marketing for Junosphere. Pilar, would you like to say hi real quick?
Thank you for joining us. We're glad to see that we have a lot of attendees this time, and we hope that we'll make this time worthy for you. We have a lot of new capabilities in Junosphere, and we will make a very hands-on interactive session. So please feel free to enter your questions at any time, and we'll be replying as we receive them on your questions and answers panel. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, as Pilar mentioned, we're really excited to have the opportunity to tell you about some new features in Junosphere. We recently added some really cool new capabilities that we feel make Junosphere a lot easier to use and will help you in your day-to-day use of Junosphere. We are holding a little bit of a contest for those of you who stay on the line and listen to the webinar. That we will be giving away 10 prizes of 100 virtual machine days for free. So please stay to be eligible to win this valuable prize. What I would like to do first is I'm going to provide a little bit of a brief introduction to Junosphere and some of the challenges that we're trying to address with the Junosphere platform. For those of you who already know and love Junosphere, this might be a little bit of a review, but there are a lot of folks on the bridge, so I'd like to make sure we do a level set and everyone knows where we are at with the product. After the quick introduction, I'll hand it over to Pilar, and she'll go in more detail about the Junosphere platform and some of the new capabilities that we're introducing. And that'll be followed by a live demonstration and time for question and answer. So to start out with, I think it's helpful to level set and talk about some of the challenges that we're trying to address with Junosphere, and specifically that's what this slide addresses. So what we've heard from customers, and even Juniper ourselves has this problem, is that in their day-to-day jobs, a networking lab is important for a number of reasons: to perform network testing, design, and employee training and professional development activities. But what we've heard from our customers is that physical networking labs are just never big enough because of the cost associated with acquiring all the equipment and maintaining and operating that equipment. You can never have a physical lab that's big enough to meet your needs. I think, does anyone really have a physical networking lab that's close to the size of their production network? I really don't think that they do. Again, because of some of the costs associated with this, there's not always the types of variety in equipment that you would like to see in your lab. There's also a lot of time constraints associated with performing different design exercises, moving from one configuration or one topology to the next. Because of the physical nature of racking and stacking the labs, it's a time-consuming process. And all this equipment is consuming power, space, and cooling resources 24/7, 365. There are some software solutions out there in the form of simulation tools and things like that, but what we've heard from our customers and what we've learned from our own experience is that those also have limitations. A lot of times they don't support the most recent protocols, or if they do, it's not implemented in exactly the same way that you would expect to see on an actual physical network element. And again, because they're not providing the actual operating system, sorry about that. Because they're not, apologies again, because they're not providing the actual operating system that's running on the physical nodes that you deploy in your real network, the behavior you see in these environments is not exactly the same. So at Juniper, we recognize that virtualization can provide a smart answer to a lot of these challenges, and that's specifically what we've done with Junosphere. With Junosphere, for the first time in the industry, we built a virtual environment specifically tailored to building and running virtualized networks. So what that really means is with Junosphere, you can create and run networks running the same Junos operating system that you would find in Juniper, network elements, routers, and firewalls. And you can use those to perform a lot of the same testing, design, and training exercises that you would typically perform in a physical lab. And because Junosphere is hosted in the cloud in a data center that's owned and operated by Juniper, you can access it on demand at any time through a web browser, and that's what Pilar will demonstrate later on in the presentation. And because it's a cloud-based service, it inherits a lot of the benefits that you would traditionally expect from a cloud-based or software as a service offering. It's a lot more cost-effective, it's a lot more flexible, you can scale it up or down based on demand. And so that's the basis of Junosphere. It's a networking lab environment in the cloud. Going a little bit deeper as to the details on Junosphere, first and foremost, the network elements within Junosphere are really Junos. It's not some simulation or some watered-down version of Junos. It's the exact same Junos that you would find on physical Juniper routers or security elements. It has a full control plane and forwarding plane, and it supports the exact same protocols that, again, you would find in Junos. And it's even compatible down to the bug level. So if there are bugs that you find in Junos in Junosphere, those are the same bugs that you would find in your physical network. And that's really a benefit, right, because you'd rather find it in a virtual environment than in your real network. But just as importantly, in addition to Junos, what we've tried to do with Junosphere is build out a comprehensive lab environment. And what that means is that within Junosphere, we provide you with the Junos elements necessary to create the fundamental network, but we also provide you with virtual machine images of a lot of the network test and measurement applications and network visualization applications that you would expect to find in a physical lab in the Junosphere lab. Pilar is going to talk in more detail about these later in the presentation, but these include images from several partners as well as images from Juniper ourselves, like Junospace. So like I mentioned on the previous slide a little bit, because Junosphere is a cloud-based service, it brings all these benefits over a physical offering. Specifically, some of those benefits are scalability. So a physical lab, like I talked about before a little bit, is limited in terms of your budget, space, things like that. Junosphere has none of those limitations. You can scale Junosphere massively beyond what would be possible in a physical lab. We have customers who have built networks of several hundred nodes within Junosphere to perform testing and modeling exercises. And you know, that's something that just really wouldn't be practical or feasible in the physical world. Again, Junosphere is flexible. You can scale these resources up or down when you need it. It's a lot quicker to test different topologies, different configurations, because it's a change in software. It's clicking a button or making a change in the CLI. There's no actual physical racking, stacking, or cabling to be done. And it's incredibly cost effective. We have TCO tools available online if you go to juniper.net/Junosphere. But the average cost of ownership reduction our customers can expect from Junosphere is something on the order of 90%. And again, that tool is available on juniper.net if you'd like to play with it and see what you might expect with your own scenario. Another cool thing about Junosphere, because it's hosted in the cloud, is this community aspect. So within Junosphere, there's this concept of libraries where you can store topology files, and Juniper provides a number of those topology files to all Junosphere users so you can get up and running quickly. But you can also develop those topology files and share them within your organization or with your colleagues or students if you're an educational institution. And again, that's really something that just it would be difficult to do with a physical lab environment. So that's the basics of Junosphere. What I'd like to talk about now is we launched Junosphere Lab back in October of 2011. So in just over 7 months or 9 months, we've seen tremendous momentum with the service, and this slide highlights some of those milestones. Specifically, we've added 50% more capacity to the data center. What that means for you as users is that you can build bigger topologies. It ensures there are no scheduling conflicts, that Junosphere resources are there when you need them. And it accommodates some of the customer growth that you see further down on the slide. Specifically, some of that growth we've seen, we now have well over 500 users who are leveraging the power of Junosphere for the testing, design, and training exercises. And those users have used well over 1 million virtual machine hours. So that's all time that would otherwise have been powering physical routers. So there's a tremendous cost savings there. In addition to these sort of milestones, we've added many feature enhancements, and Pilar is going to talk about those next. We've enhanced the user interface. We've added new tools like a topology builder, which again you'll see from Pilar, and just generally improved the overall usability and capabilities of the Junosphere platform. So that's the quick introduction to Junosphere from me. Now I'm going to hand it over to Pilar, who will go down into a little bit more depth.
Thank you. So before we go to the demonstration of Junosphere, I'd like to explain how it is architected and what elements it provides to you. So Junosphere is, like Brendan mentioned, it is hosted in a data center that's owned and operated by Juniper. Inside that cloud, we use the Virtual Machine Manager, which is a hypervisor that was custom designed by Juniper. Most hypervisors have the capability of creating partitions in memory of a machine, but they are not designed to create networked applications. So that is why Juniper developed this Virtual Machine Manager, which is the core, the heart of the operation of Junosphere. With the Virtual Machine Manager, you can define diverse topologies. These topologies use a combination of different types of network elements, such as routers, CentOS servers, which is a particular flavor of Linux. We have Juno's space inside Junosphere, so you can also manage your virtual networks the same way you manage your physical networks, and you have several advantages from space, such as configuration presets that you can apply to your nodes. You can manage how they are performing and other things. And we also have an ecosystem of partners that provide test and measurement tools, provide traffic generation, and also network analysis. And we'll go in more detail through those partner applications. And all of this environment is accessible via a secure link from your own computer, from your own environment. So the basic building blocks of Junosphere are the Juniper applications, such as the virtual router, the Juno's space, and CentOS server. You can load these CentOS servers with custom applications that you develop. All these virtual routers and space also support Juniper's SDK. So you can also do research, you can do customization. Several of our customers use SDK to adapt and add some APIs that they will use for the communication with their management systems and other network elements, and to do next generation applications. On top of these building blocks, we also have the network planning applications that come from 3 partners right now. We have an alliance with Cariden. They provide us Mate, Packet Design, and Wandle. So what you do with these tools is you install one of their applications in your network. It goes, discovers your network elements, consolidates all the configuration files, and then it converts this information into a Junosphere file that you can run inside the cloud. With their planning applications, you can also do what-if scenarios of growth, how big your network will be within the next 5 years, which will be the traffic narrow points, and where you would need to add more capacity, what happens in severe problem situations, if there's an earthquake in San Francisco and that node falls, where the traffic will go to, what you need to be prepared for. So you work on all that simulation, and once you correctly dimension your network, then you go to Junosphere and emulate then the control plane and fine-tune how you want to manage your protocols, your quality of service policies, different firewalling policies. So you have the best of two worlds. You have the emulation on traffic demands, and you have the refinement of a control plane that's going to save you a lot of time when you implement your actual network. Then we also have performance analysis tools. We have Spirent Test Center, which is very popular in the industry. They generate layer 2 and layer 3 types of signals, and you can verify the performance of your network. In Mu Dynamics, they have libraries of layer 7 applications, so you can combine traffic of Facebook, Yahoo Mail, video, voice, and you define your percentages of traffic to create your custom injection of generation of bits and bytes, so that you can also test how you are configuring your routers and your security network. I will demonstrate these applications. Additionally to this, we also signed recently an agreement with Ixia, so they will be available in the Junosphere environment very soon. How does Junosphere work? So we have the large cloud that accommodates several customers. Each customer, and we will go through that in the demo, each customer has a bank administrator. That bank administrator can allocate resources such as number of virtual machines available to their users. A bank administrator can create an unlimited number of users and an unlimited number of sandboxes. The sandbox is a virtual environment that's separate from all other sandboxes, in which you can build your topology and you can emulate diverse conditions without impacting any of the other users. Several users can be assigned to the same sandbox so that they work in a collaborative way. The access to these sandboxes is controlled by a firewall, and there's secure access. Additionally, you can supplement your topologies in Junosphere with the Junosphere connector, which is a hybrid that enables the connectivity between a virtual environment and a physical lab. So, for example, if you want to use Junosphere to create a large number of nodes to emulate a core network, and you want to emulate one edge network and configure cards physically, whatever, you can do that through Junosphere connector and connect the two worlds. And with connector, you can also add third-party equipment and verify interoperability and other features. Use cases. Basically, our customers have been using Junosphere for three purposes. One is for training, and it is very cost effective. Instead of having their big routers just waiting for usage, you have the whole Juno's instruction set in the virtual environment, and it's been great for students also, because they can have their own network instead of being sharing network with other users. So they learn more, they learn better. Right now we are working with one of our customers on developing defective topologies so that they can also train their brand new employees on fixing problems in their network. And it is an excellent environment because if something goes wrong, you don't damage any physical equipment. And second application is for network design. Typically, the planning departments of companies don't have access to lab resources. And this is regrettable. I was talking with a customer the other day, and they assume that we just need to plan for capacity with emulation tools, but in reality, simulating what actually happens in the network would be extremely valuable for us, and Junosphere is going to be a great tool for us in that regard because it is cost effective. We can implement it right away, and now we have access to our own lab in a virtual environment. Also for operations, it is an efficient way to reproduce faults, and it is a great way to test methods and procedures. Some case studies, one of this is for an education partner. So they used to need 7 to 10 physical routers, and it was very time consuming and expensive to maintain those labs that were there idle most of the time. But with Junosphere, they can do not only the same tests and exercises, but each of the students, as I was mentioning earlier, has an entire network instead of having access to just one router. So now they can go deeper into the operation. One of our customers, a major service provider, was analyzing what's going to happen in the introduction of their MPLS supercore. So they needed to emulate a large number of nodes and a very complex mix of protocols from MPLS, OSPF, point-to-point. So they implemented this environment in Junosphere. Here I have a very simplified diagram of how this works. So there was an inner core, and then they introduced the outer core that would be acting as the MPLS portion. They were able to simulate premise equipment and customer equipment. And in the topologies, they included Spirent equipment to generate some traffic, Junospace to verify the performance of the different nodes and to facilitate configuration of them, and Cariden also to do the emulation of traffic and to verify the different what-if scenarios at different instances of time. Emulation of routers for large-scale testing. This has been done in the past with test equipment, and the test equipment manufacturers speak with us, speak with our customers, with our competitors also, and they gather information on what are the new modifications to different protocols, but they're always 1 or 2 steps behind because of the complexity of implementing what the equipment manufacturers do. In the case of Junosphere, we develop Junos for Junosphere at the same time it gets implemented in each of the releases for our routers. So you have the real feature set, the real implementation. Other applications, validation of pre-production changes. So you test your MOPS before you are in an emergency situation. You run test scripts for massive router updates. You can emulate APIs. You can work with your different test systems and run test scripts. You can program brand new applications using the SDKs inside Junosphere. And as we were mentioning before, training, not only for certificate purposes, but also for real network training. Features and roadmap, as Brendan was mentioning earlier, Junosphere is a very young product. It's only a year old, and nonetheless, throughout that time, we've been doing a lot of new features. We've made it very user-friendly. Maybe some of you joining to this call, if you used Junosphere at the beginning of it, you'll see that it's an entirely different product now. So we've also worked on the growth of our system, and next year we will keep on adding more functionalities for Junosphere. Right now, Junosphere offers 3 types of services. One is Junosphere Classroom, which is focused on educational organizations. Junosphere Lab, mostly for enterprise and service providers. And Junosphere Developer for people that is interested on the usage of SDK. We've been saying all the time that Junosphere is very cost effective. Don't read all of this little font here, but in summary, what this means is the cost of Junosphere is $5 for each virtual machine for every day you use it. There is an easy way to acquire Junosphere with credit card, and we'll make this link available to you after this session is over. So now we're going to the real thing, which is the demonstration of the system. So to access Junosphere, the first thing you do is you go to https://junosphere.net. So I'm right here in Junosphere, and I'm going to access with my credentials. Okay, so this is the new welcome page of Junosphere. You'll see in here that we have help files for each of the network elements that we have in Junosphere. So you can go to the Juno space. It will explain to you how it is integrated in Junosphere, what features it has, what release it is available. We have the use manuals for our different partners. So you have all the information there at your fingertips. Also, if you go to this other section, you go to the Junosphere documentation, we have here some demo videos. This is available on juniper.net. So please, if you forget anything that we explained today, you can always go back to these videos. They are less than 10 minutes in duration, and they are really quick to understand. So besides that, what would be the first step? We have in Junosphere, we have banks where we store capacity. We have different subclouds for each of our customers. So in this case, I am the administrator of 2 specific banks. Each bank has assigned a capacity to it. So when I'm in the bank, I have different administrators for the bank. Those administrators can create new sandboxes. And those administrators can also create new users and assign them to the sandboxes. And the administrator can also assign capacity to sandboxes in Junosphere. In this particular bank that I have almost 1,500 virtual machines available, and I can add capacity to any of my sandboxes so that I can start working. Once I have enough capacity and I am an authorized user in any of the sandboxes, I get to work. So the first step is to go to the Topology Wizard, This is a brand new tool that we introduced in release 2.4, and it's been working since last week. So first I go and save the library in which I want to store my topology. And I'll go ahead and put it I want to save it in this library. Notice that you can save the same topology in several libraries at the same time. That also saves you time when you want to set up several sandboxes simultaneously. And now I start to have fun. I go and draw different routers here. And I not only add the routers, but I also add the connections between them. And I have on my toolbar on the left, I have all the different ecosystem tools. So I have also test sets. For example, here I'm going to add Spirent. And you can also do a T connection so that you don't have to use one of the ports of the routers. You can also rename your router, so I'm going to call this one New York 1. And I can call this other one Massachusetts 1, for example. And here you can also create the configuration of each of your virtual machines. So you can copy a configuration file from one of your physical routers, and you can run it in Junosphere. You can also add here Juno space, as I was mentioning, so that you can manage your small network. And you can have a CentOS machine that will allow you to do fast browsing of applications that run inside Junosphere. So once I'm ready, once I have everything I want in my little network, I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go to my library so that I can start using the topology. So I am in my bank. I saved this topology in the VJVU demo sandbox. And I have it in my libraries. Put it inside the test library. And there it is. That's my topo example. One of the things I can do is I can start working with a topology. I can download the file set and I can see what is it that the Junosphere constructed with it. Just need to change my settings here. So this is the topology file that was created on the background while you were drawing it. And here you have the config set where you have the configurations of the nodes. In this particular case, we did not enter any configuration information, but it's available there. You can always go back to your topology and relaunch it and edit that file set. So if you click edit, it takes you back to the same graphical mode. So after doing the topology, you launch it. Right now what I did is I have one topology that's already running in the background. I'm going to show you different applications from our routers, from our partners also. So I go to the active topology tab where I have my topology already running. In this topology, it tells me how it is done. So I have here different customer equipment, premises equipment, routers started, Spirent, Rex. I have here all sorts of partner applications. And I have here the IP address of each of those network elements. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of my routers. I go to the command shell in my machine, and I telnet to this first router, 10.233.252.124. And right there, I am inside the first router, which is this CE1 router. So in here, I can start by showing the configuration, for example. And it gives me all the information. This configuration is available from the config file that we loaded previously in Junosphere. But in here, I have access to the CLI, and I can modify that configuration right from the router. I can also show the version of this node, which is working on release 12.1. So that's what's going on with the routers. Additionally to that, we have several partner applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my shortcuts. I'm going to open VNC Viewer. And with this VNC Viewer, I'm going to access the CentOS machine that I built inside Junosphere. So we have the right IP address there, and I connect to this node. So I'm going to use full color here so you see it beautiful. So when you first open the CentOS machine, you'll just see a normal desktop from which you can launch a web browser. And by launching that web browser, you have access to different applications. We have here an application running Junos Space, and we can log into it. So right here you can have all the performance statistics of your cloud environment. You have the listing of the routers that we are running in Junosphere, so we can see all these devices. We have access here to the CLI console from Space, and you can do many other things. You can manage the configuration files. So you can program Space so that you can do frequent backups of your configuration files, for example. So you can program here for backups. You can also work with configuration templates. So you can go here to the template options, and you can create different templates for the routers that you have inside Junosphere. So you have the functionality of Space right inside Junosphere. Another application that I'm going to show now is one of our partners, which is called Muse Studio. Muse Studio is a company that was recently acquired by Spirent also. So Muse Studio provides different libraries of traffic. So you have here examples of Skype traffic, of different business protocols, point-to-point social networking. And what you do is you select what traffic you want to be running, and you assign different percentages of traffic to the bit stream that you will be injecting on Junosphere. So you can control that information here, and then you play that traffic. That helps you a lot to test scenarios when you are configuring quality of service policies, firewalls, and different conditions in your router. So you have some traffic that you can play with. Another type of application that we have inside Junosphere, and we are running now on the background, is we have two Spirent test sets, and I'm going to show you a slide that shows this this configuration that I'm showing you. There's this number of routers. I showed you the application on the new design. I will show you Spirent. We have one terminal generating traffic, the other one receiving that traffic throughout a chain of different routers. So in this case, we have defined the sending and the receiving ports, and we see here a count of frames that have been transmitted and how many frames are being received at the other end. You can stop and restart this traffic at any point you want, but you see how traffic flows from one end to another. Obviously, the traffic that's not getting to the point B is because it's being delivered to intermediate nodes. So that is the brief presentation, the brief demonstration of Junosphere. It seems that we've been receiving a good number of questions. I don't know, Brendan, if we have some questions that we can read out loud and discuss a little bit in a little more detail.
Yeah, so I've been trying to answer most of the questions on chat, but there's questions coming in faster than I can type. So I'll read some of them out loud, some of the common ones out loud, and maybe Pilar, you can answer them. So one of the questions we've been getting a lot is device support for specific platforms like MX, SRX, things like that, and what's supported in VJX and what isn't.
Thank you for asking. So the support in VJX is the core Juno's functionality. That Juno's functionality is the same for all of Juniper's product families. The difference between the Junos and each individual family is built in a set of hardware conditions for all of those families. We are introducing new virtual families of products inside Junosphere. Right now we have beta releases for some nodes. So please work with your direct systems engineer to have access to these beta nodes, which I'm not going to mention publicly, but there are different emulations of some of our product families. MX is planned to introduce a beta towards the end of this year, and it will be fully functional next year. Thank you, Brent.
So one of the other questions we've been getting different variations of is generation of traffic within Junosphere. How much can we generate? Can we generate traffic? Can you apply QoS policies to that traffic? Things like that.
Thank you for asking. Because this is a virtual environment, the main emphasis is in control plane. Nonetheless, the forwarding plane works. It has a capacity of 50 megabits, which obviously is not the same that you will have in a physical network where you're talking in terms of giga or terabits. But it is very adequate to help you define QoS and different security policies. So.
There's some questions about the version of Junos that we run, and can you select the version of Junos within Junosphere?
Thank you for asking. Yes. Right now on the demonstration that I was conducting, I was running release 12.1. In the topology file, you can make a modification to your script, and you can invoke different releases. So right now, Junosphere supports 10.3, 10.4, and 12.1. Starting from 12.1, Junosphere will have all synchronized releases. So the moment that Juniper releases 12.2, it's going to be available in Junosphere and so on for all future releases.
What else? We've got a question about where the data center is hosted and if there's issues with latency in other parts of the world.
Thank you. So yes, The data center is located in the United States. The latency is not significant. The situation is everything behaves at the same time, at the same rate inside the virtual environment. So yes, probably you have a latency from each of your routers, but that latency is going to be identical for all of them. Therefore, when you receive them at the other end, it's just going to look uniform, and the overall latency is not important.
We've been getting some questions about whether this will be recorded and whether we can distribute the link afterwards. Yes, the answer is yes to both of those questions. Let's see, what else? We've been getting questions about the topology builder and questions about can we save the topology for next time, for the next time they log in, things of that nature.
Yes, so when you use the Topology Wizard, the first thing it asks you is where you want to save that topology. So that topology is saved in one of your libraries, and if you choose not to save it in the library, it saves it directly in your hard drive. So you can choose in what type of, where you want to save it. So in this example, I can save it to a file, and I'm going to enable my pop-ups. So you can use the same topology multiple times. Junosphere has libraries, and every topology that's stored in a library can be launched multiple times. You can save the changes, but you can also keep the master file intact so that you can make multiple replicas of it afterwards.
Getting some questions about whether the topology builder can import configuration files from an existing device.
Yes, with the Topology Wizard you can import configuration files, just doing that as text. So I'll show an example right here. So you add your router, you right-click on it, edit the VM configuration, and you can go to another place where you have a well-known configuration file. You can copy all this file, and you can paste it in the configuration inside the Topology Wizard. That is one way to do it. Another way to do it is just to type it. Yes?
I think we're hitting most of the questions. There's some really detailed questions about feature support and things like that. Julie or Carrie, I think maybe the best way to answer some of those questions is, guys, we have a forum on the JNet communities for Junosphere. We monitor that forum daily, so if you have specific questions that we're not answering here, please feel free to reach out to us on the forum. I think we'll probably take some of these questions and answers and post them up in the forum as well. I think that's it. Operator, is there a way for people to ask questions on the phone or only over the chat? I'm getting only over the chat. So I think we've answered most of the questions. Like I said, if there are questions that we haven't answered, please feel free to post them up on the forum.
Thank you very much for your participation today. After this call, we will also send you an email with additional information on instructions how to join our technical forum and different links that would be useful to you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining. We really appreciate the time, and we're glad to have the opportunity to be able to tell you about Junosphere.